Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel. Now guys, when Buhari came into the Nigerian space, he came in under the mantra of change. Now change of course can be in two dimensions. It can either be for the better or for the worse. So the international community has come in with their verdict. As guys, I bring you this: PDP mocks Buhari APC as Transparency International releases report on Nigeria. So this is the headline that we're discussing on this video. Again, PDP mocks Buhari APC as Transparency International releases report on Nigeria. So now let's see now what manner of mirth is amusing the People's Democratic Party. So, the People's Democratic Party PDP has reacted to the Transparency International Corruption Perception Index released on Thursday. It was reported that Nigeria dropped 2 steps below on the 2019 Transparency International Corruption Perception Index. In the latest release on Thursday, Nigeria ranked 146 out of 180 countries studied. The PDP, in a statement by its spokesman, Kola Ologbondiyan, said the report had further validated its position that corruption had worsened under the President Muhammadu Buhari and his All Progressive Congress APC's administration. The opposition party said the report was proof to show that Buhari's anti-corruption war was fake. The PDP added that with the transparency report, it is clear that the Buhari administration and the APC have not only failed in their boast to tackle corruption and insecurity, but have ended up economically despoiling our nation and worsening our security challenges. The statement reads in part: the party describes as a national embarrassment that under an administration by the same leaders who wear the medals as African Union anti-corruption champion and whose government boasts of zero tolerance for corruption, our nation now ranks as 4th most corrupt country in West Africa and one of the leading most corrupt countries in the world. The TI, that's Transparency International, the TI report, which shows our country dropping to a malodorous 26 from the already disapproving 27 points it maintained since 2017, had further exposed that the Buhari administration and the APC are merely posturing as saints and hounding innocent Nigerians with fake anti-corruption war whilst engaged in unprecedented looting of our national resources. It indeed speaks volume that the Buhari administration and the APC that came into power in 2015 on an anti-corruption mantra has ended up becoming the most corrupt in the history of our dear nation. Moreover, the fact that the APC and its government, with their numerous megaphones, have maintained silence over the report is also very revealing. By this TI report, Nigerians are no longer in doubt as to why our nation has been plagued with worsening economic hardship, poverty and hunger, debilitated infrastructure, and devastating retrogression in critical sectors such as health, power, education, transport, agriculture, amongst others, in the last 4 years, whilst APC leaders, their families and cronies gloat in affluence to the chagrin of Nigerians. Nigerians can recall that our party has since been challenging Buhari's presidency and the APC to come clean, account for the over 14 trillion allegedly stolen by the APC leaders from the government coffers in the last 4 years. This includes the stolen 9 trillion naira detailed in the NMPC leaked memo, the 1.1 trillion worth of crude oil allegedly stolen by certain APC leaders using 18 unregistered vessels, the over 1.4 trillion stolen from shady oil subsidy deals, as well as monies stolen from sensitive government agencies, including the Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS, the National Health Insurance Scheme, NHIS, the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, amongst others. it is now clear that the Buhari administration and the APC have not only failed in their boast to tackle corruption and insecurity, but have ended up economically despoiling our nation and worsening our security challenges. The facts remain that the Buhari presidency and the APC cannot controvert these damning facts. The only thing left for them is to apologize to Nigerians and get ready for their place in the dustbins of history as the worst government and political party ever in the history of our nation. Those, of course, are the words of the PDP, and of course you would expect the PDP to utter those words. So those are partisan words, and you would define them as partisan, and I would agree with you to define them as that. But then, of course, now let's look at the details of those words and see which bit of it that we agree or disagree with. This regime came in under the mantra of change. We all agree on that because these were their words. This regime came in under the mantra of anti-corruption. We all agree on that because those were their words. And this is what the PDP is saying as well, that these people came in under the mantra of anti-corruption and fighting insecurity. So these are the two things, the two pillars that Buhari hinged his persona on, and this is what they sold him on: anti-corruption and fighting insecurity. So there's no disagreeing with that because these are the words that these people uttered copiously within the public space. So there's no contention there. So now let's now get into the details of it. So now you now have the PDP pointedly pointing in the direction of Buhari and his acolytes and saying that you people are the most corrupt that this country has ever experienced. Now, those are partisan words and those are subjective views. But then the umpire, of course, the referee, the non-invested person, the neutral person in this whole divide is the Transparency International, who have looked at the data of practice within the Nigerian space to then come to the conclusion that this country is as corrupt as it has ever been. So as corrupt as it has ever been means that it is more corrupt than it has ever been. So these are now the words of now an international body that has no vested interest other than to look at the statistics, to look at the economy of the country and weigh that against development and weigh that against known practices of corruption that their agents have identified that are in the public space, etc. That Lawal guy, the grass cutter, and all the countless people, the Akpabio, who is under investigation, then gets a clean bill and then becomes a minister. Somebody like Rotimi Amechi is a minister. So they look at all these indices to then come to the conclusion that this country is the most corrupt that it has ever been. And if you are looking at Nigeria and describing it as the most corrupt that it has ever been, then you have to weigh that against and measure that against antecedents. So what are the antecedents of Nigeria? So the corruption index of Nigeria is quite alarming and copious. You go back to the days of Shagari, where you had Umaru Diko taking dollars in bags and Alaji being caught with $500,000 in bags in a taxi in London. So you are going that far back to the Shagari days, and then you go from the Shagari days to the first Buhari regime when he was a minister, when he was president rather. In fact, when he was minister under Obasanjo, he already had corruption allegations when he was the Minister of Petroleum. But then, of course, we go to his military dictatorship, and it was rife, of course, with allegations of corruption. So now when you're talking about corruption, you cannot talk about corruption in Nigeria and not mention the name Babangida is the poster boy of the African corruption face, and the only person that can challenge him in that, of course, is Abacha, who is as corrupt can get, and they're still recovering is hundreds of millions of dollars, to the point that billions and billions of dollars have now been recovered from the Abacha family. So that's the level of corruption there. So there's even no denying that the Abacha family was corrupt, because of course money is being recovered from them internationally. So already that tells you that these people were corrupt. So against that background, and the Goodluck Jonathan regime, of course, extremely corrupt. So against all of that background of corruption, Transparency International is saying that Nigeria is as corrupt as it has ever been. So which then tells you then that this regime now that we're experiencing under Malam Buhari is more corrupt than the Shagari regime, the first Buhari dispensation, the Babangida regime even, which is quite shocking because Babangida is a story in itself that Nigeria needs to tackle, and the Abacha regime, of course, you can't talk corruption without mentioning Babangida and Abacha, and then of course Goodluck Jonathan regime as well, and Obasanjo, who created so many fake billionaires, dollar billionaires under his regime, corruption, aluta. So against all of this background, Transparency International, an independent international body, is now describing this set of people as the most corrupt that Nigeria has ever been. So change is what we're talking about now, and change was what they promised you. But then I told you that change is binary, is two-faceted. It can either be for good or for bad. So it is now your decision to make now what sort of a change that you have had in Nigeria, the direction that that change has taken, and you can set that decision against the background of the information that you have. So has it been a change for good under the Malam Buhari regime, or a change for the worse under the Malam Buhari regime? This is really the simple question that I'm asking you to answer. So come answer those questions, or come answer that question rather, because it's a singular question. Come answer that question in the comment section. But before you do that, click on the red subscribe button so it turns gray. Bell button notifies you every time I drop a new video. Then come tell me which way Nigeria in the comment section. So I'll leave you here. Carry this conversation on with you in the comment section. But here I say peace.